Hi, Shveta. I'm so happy to have you here on my channel today. My name is Missam. You can call me Miss. So I'm
Hi.
super nervous. Hi, I'm so nervous to do this. I just wanted to
Hi.
because I finished reading the book yesterday, and initially I thought, okay, I have an author who I'm going to interview, and then I finished reading the book yesterday, and I thought, okay, I'm going to interview somebody who wrote that. I'm going to interview the author of that. That is so amazing. So I just had like a little panic attack, but I'm good now.
Oh, no, there's nothing to be nervous about. I'm
Yeah.
I'm just weird and awkward too. So
Okay, but I'm so happy that you could make it here, and let's just get started. So let's start with the interview, and tell us a little bit about yourself. I have a pretty small channel, but I know a lot of people who may not know about Star Daughter. I know a lot of people who are very interested and are very excited for the release, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
sure. I'll throw out some random facts. I really do believe in magic. I think it's
Okay.
possible maybe I am a half Nagini, maybe I don't know. Maybe one day I'll find out. I absolutely am still looking for the portal to any kind of version of fairy. So I'm always going to be looking. I really love chocolate covered almonds. What else? I speak German, and I actually did my undergrad and my master's in German and German literature, and I lived there for 1 year. And if I had been able to stay, I would have. And I wasn't able to stay, so I'm back in the States. What
Okay.
else?
Tell us a little bit about your past work.
Sure. I have a bunch of short stories available and poems, and everything I write is always fantasy, always magical. And I decided a long time ago when I was in my mid-20s that I would always write Desi characters because those were the things I had, the kinds of stories I hadn't seen. So my stories will always have magic and always have brown people.
Yeah, I was so happy to read Star Daughter. Actually, I've just started to reread again, and Star Daughter was one of my first Desi reads, and it made my heart so happy. Like, I was so
Oh,
glad with all the Desi references. Yeah, and the character of Dev and Sheetal. In fact, I had like this little Instagram thing where we were like, okay, let's get a ship name for Dev and Sheetal. So I got all kinds of entries coming in. So that was really nice, and I know a lot of Desi readers were so excited for Star Daughter.
it makes me so happy because
Anyway,
when I was in middle
yeah.
school and high school, I lived in a really small farm town here in the States where they hadn't seen anybody who had melanin, and they were not exactly nice about it. And I remember wishing that I was white so that I would belong. And I thought, you know what? If I had stories that celebrated being brown and being Hindu and all that stuff, all the food that they laughed at, all those things, and I'm sorry, Desi food is amazing. So like what? But yeah, all the things that they laughed at, that might have made such a difference to me, even if I was alone there, just to know that, so that's why I'm writing, so that I can give that to everybody else.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that people like you are. Um, can you tell us a little bit about the characters and the inspirations behind the characters in your story?
Sure. Well, obviously Sheetal is not me. None of my characters are me, but she definitely has a lot of me in her. Like someone noticed yesterday on Twitter that she has excoriation disorder where she picks at herself. And that is a problem or a condition I have. And I thought, I've never seen this in a book. I would like to, because it is a nervous tic and it does hurt and it is painful. And I think most of us can understand on some level what it's like to feel anxious and be looking for some way to deal with that. So that's definitely something from me. Her determination never to just give up and accept what people do. Like the scene in the first chapter where the aunties and uncles are all like, "Oh, so Sheetal, what are you already thinking of doing with your whole life? And it better be something really impressive." It was 100% out of my experience, and I can't imagine it has changed that much since. So,
That made her so relatable immediately, because that is something like all of us have probably gone through that at some point or the other.
I remember, when I was in college, and so they would come up to me and be like, "So Shweta, what are you studying?" And they'd be expecting like law or medicine or any of the acceptable basic careers, and I said German, and they would be like, "No, what's your major?" Like they could not, it did not compute.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Tell us a little bit about your writing process. I'm really interested because I'm a writer myself, and I would love to know more about from Desi authors about writing Desi characters. So.
Sure. Well, just a general overview. I seem to start with, I'm a very visual person, and you can probably guess that from,
Yeah.
all this. And I tend to get pictures in my head, like in my imagination, and try to figure out what the story would be that would go with those pictures. So I start there, but especially because I'm writing in the North American market, though, I'm happy for everybody anywhere to read it. I had to figure out a while back how to make our stuff accessible for a readership here in the States who mostly would not be familiar with it. And so one thing I absolutely do not want to do and have seen writers do and wish they didn't is they would say things like, chai tea or lathi stick or naan bread. And I was like, no, 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 no. Like
Oh God.
part of good writing is figuring out ways to weave information into the description without it coming across like you are explaining to the reader, this is what it is. And so I really worked on trying to figure out how to do that. And then I just thought about what are the things that I really loved and wanted to have there. And I knew that, and so I put those on the page. And I was very lucky with this book, and actually, honestly, mostly with the stories that I've published too, that most of the time I was allowed to just, leave things the way they were and not explain for an audience that, might have to do a little work for once to understand. But on the whole, I'm really trying to become more of a plotter, which is hard for me. I started out a pantser, and that meant that with my first book, which is trunked now, I wrote 6 drafts of it, and it didn't go anywhere. With Star Daughter, I ended up doing 9. I started writing it in 2013, and it just made me realize, like, wouldn't it be nice if I had some idea, even if it changed along the way, of what was actually going to happen and tried to write toward that so I didn't have to keep throwing out drafts. So that's what I'm trying to do right now, figure out how I can become at least partially more of a plotter.
Yeah, I totally understand that as well, because I was somewhere in that area, somewhere in that zone myself. I started off as a pantser and then I started plotting, so it really helped me a lot. Tell us, what is the favorite part about writing for you? Because I can tell that you love writing descriptions from your book, but apart from that, maybe
apart from that,
that's
not fair. That's not fair. I think
because you just gave yourself away.
Yeah, totally. Oh, 100%. That is my, okay, I'll say the language, which is, I guess, partially description. That's partially a cheat answer. But honestly, playing with language, I love it so much. I love the rhythm of it. I love figuring out what the perfect word is to conjure exactly the, the image and the tone that I'm trying to set. Like that is so fun for me. And I'm working on my second book, which I'm unfortunately not allowed to say much about yet. But I know, like, this ended up being more of the plotting draft, because I had to throw away the first one again. See why it would be better for me to figure out plotting ahead of time. But when I go back in, after I get my edit letter from my editor, and we get to where I fix things, I'm so excited to then be able to go back in and layer in more description of magical things, like let my imagination just run and see what else I can come up with, and just tweak that language and make it sing. It's absolutely my favorite thing.
You just said sing, and it's funny because, like, Star Daughter features a lot of music. So what was the inspiration behind that?
I'm not actually sure. Now that I think about it, I don't know. It was just one day I knew that, I guess because I'd heard that expression, the music of the spheres, the music of the stars, right? And it just seemed natural to me that stars, if they were people, they would sing.
Okay, that's actually a pretty cool concept. And I loved that part of the entire thing. And I loved how you incorporated a lot of, like, Desi instruments as well, like the Dilruba. I really liked that because I love music as well. So I really liked a Desi character who was into music. So that was pretty awesome. Yeah, as you can see, I really love the book a lot. So I'm like
that
still
makes
in
me
the
so
fangirl
happy.
state of it. Yeah, I'm so happy.
That makes me so happy. You don't even know.
Yeah. Tell me, what were the most important lessons that you learned while writing the book, whether it's about, like, publishing, the industry, or even about life?
Well, I've actually been around in the industry for quite a while. I even used to work in publishing very briefly, and I talked about it in an interview yesterday. I right now I'm also a freelance copy editor, so it's been very interesting this whole time to see both sides of it. And I'm pretty plugged into the writing community online, so I've been able to watch other people's careers take off and learn from that and get advice from really smart people. Like, for example, I have to give credit to my friend Holly Black. The whole competition aspect was her suggestion.
Mhm.
I mean, not what the competition was, but she read an early draft and she told me, we were discussing plotting because she's very good at plotting, and that's something I'm still working to, make my own strength. And she pointed out that we needed more stakes, different stakes in the second half of the book once Shveta's up in Swerglok. And what if there was some kind of competition that involved the music that was already there? And I thought, that's brilliant. And so that's been nice, seeing how much support there is in the community. And then for something that I didn't expect, even though I guess I probably should have, is how many hats an author has to wear. And so many of them you don't see. Between us helping, like obviously the publisher is doing its part to promote, but I also have to promote. I need to be on social media. I need to have a newsletter. I need to, remember to share things, even, and I need to do other things that I'm not even allowed to talk about right now. Like there's a lot. And of course you're still also working on your writing. You're still also working on the next book, and whatever interview requests and things come in, it's all wonderful. It's all absolutely wonderful. It's just, I just hadn't realized I'd be like putting on this hat and then this hat and then this hat. And
yeah, that must have been fun, and I can't wait to start that journey myself. And I'm so glad that I have like Desi and like Indian characters and authors to look up to in my journey, because growing up I did not have that. I had only white authors, so that wasn't a great experience. It's not that they were bad authors, it's just that it's better when you have somebody who understands your experiences. So
I'm so excited to see what all of you come up with now.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be like this huge like chunk of Desi people trying to write their own fantasies and excelling at that. So I can't wait.
Good. I want them.
Yeah. Tell me, Shweta, who was your favorite character to write? And before you say Sheetal, which I'm pretty sure it was, but like apart from Sheetal as well. I'm making it.
Well, no, actually, I wasn't going to say Sheetal. I was going to say, I think my answer might change from day to day, but honestly, I had so much fun writing the Harp sisters, because they're just like, they're just, so slippery and potentially dangerous and annoying, so annoying.
I actually can't wait to know more about them, because they were there for, I think, 2-3 scenes maximum. They weren't there for a very long time, but they were really intriguing. Is there like any more? Yeah, I think you mentioned on your Instagram yesterday that Star Daughter is a standalone. Is it?
Yes, it is. I'm actually like I thought about, when would I have any more story in this world to tell, and aside from like little short stories, like I wrote the story of how Sheetal's parents met, and that's online. But beyond that, the story's done. Like it's done. I leave it up to readers to decide what happens now.
I finished reading it and I was like, oh my God, I hope we get a second one. And then I instantly saw your story and I was like, oh, this is standalone. Well, that did not go well for me. But okay. But I'm super excited to know like more. I know that you're not allowed to talk about your future projects, but like I can't wait for them to come out and like for you to start talking about it.
I can say a little.
Okay.
That this will also definitely be set in a world with Hindu mythology, and I think it's probably, and I know I'm allowed to say that there are nags in it and dreams. Okay. Yes, there are nags and dreams.
Oh, wow.
And I wonder if I could probably get away with saying that there are 2 point of view characters this time.
I can't wait. That sounds amazing. Like nags is something that has not been explored much in books, I think.
Well, can I show you something really cool? I have to get up to get it, but.
Sure. Oh my God, that is so pretty.
I had this beautiful Nagini commissioned from an artist in India, a sculptress in India. And I asked for her to look like Rekha.
I can't really see it properly, but I guess oh yes, now I can. Yes, oh my god, this does look like Rekha. This is stunning.
Yes, Divya Gupta is amazing, the artist. I was just
Okay.
blown away. But yes,
It's really good. It's really pretty. So, Shweta, tell me, like, as writers, we usually write a lot of themes into our books. So it's very difficult to choose like one particular theme out of like all that we have in our books. But if you had to choose one theme that really, stays with you, which one would you choose in Star Daughter?
it would be a toss-up between female friendship and it would be a toss-up between female friendship and family. But if I had to pick one, female friendship. Like that is so important
That's
to me. I wanted, I'm really tired of us being taught that women and girls need to be at one another's throats. And that's the only way to get along in a patriarchal world, when absolutely the opposite is true. And so even one thing that I knew from the very beginning with Star Daughter, back in 2013 when I started writing it, even though it's changed so much since then, one thing that never changed was the fact that Sheetal and Meenal stayed friends. Like that was, that they had each other's backs. That was, and just a given for me. I was not going to ever change that. And my editor was like, that was one of the selling points for me. I love that they are such good friends and take care of each other.
I've actually been buddy reading this book with a friend and like discussing it with a few other friends. And a lot of us actually agree that the friendship between Sheetal and Meenal is probably one of our favorite parts about the story. So I'm glad that, yeah.
Yay.
Yay. Okay, speaking about female friendships, do you have like any favorite books or movies featuring female friendships that you really like?
Yes, but I actually have one sitting right here. Let me grab it for you. Forest of Souls by Laurie M. Lee. It is, yes, it is all about the female friendship. It's something that matters very much to both of us, so we definitely bonded over that. And there are more, but that I can't think of right now, because I always do this when I'm asked that on the spot about, I have a whole list and it just, my mind goes blank, but that one at least to start with. So.
I've heard a lot about that book as well, and I intend on getting it as soon as I think it's released. Yeah,
it came out in June.
I intend it came out in June, so I'm planning to buy that, but I need to finish off with my own TBR before I do that.
Oh,
I have
totally fair.
I have so many books just lying waiting for me. So tell us a little bit more about the world building and how you really approached it, because world building is probably one of the best parts, as I said, about your world. I loved it. I know that you based it on Hindu mythology, but like, did you take any liberties with it? Did you add or did you remove anything from it?
Well, yeah, I see, the way I look at writing with mythology, I mean with our own mythology, is loving fan fiction, right? Like, to me, this is my love letter to the gods, that here are our old stories, let me do something fun with them. And so for me, I really just tried to think of all the amazing stuff I would want to be able to go and do. Like, the magical night market is the magical night market of my heart. I wrote, so like, I just thought of all the things that I would want to go and be able to see there and shop for, and like, I just had fun with it. And same with a certain dance later. I don't want to spoil it, but a certain dance later in the book. That same thing. Where would I want to be? Where would I want to go? And I went with that. And even taking, when Sheetal has to go up to Swarglok, which obviously is part of mythology, but the Starry Court's not. I made all that up. I mean, yes, we had the nakshatras, and I did a little bit of research on that. But then I just let myself have fun and make things up. And like, the story of how diamonds came about is 100% my invention. So I thought, let me mix things, and in a way, whatever serves the story and is fun for me, because at the end of the day, I'm going to have to read this 5 million times while I revise and redraft and revise and polish. So I need to really enjoy it more than anybody else.
Yeah, this is actually one writing advice that I absolutely live by, is that write what you want to read. So I totally understand where you're coming from. And I really had a lot of fun reading what you love to read. So I guess like a reading taste aligns. So yeah. So tell me a little bit more about like what you've read recently in the last few days or months.
I actually have not been reading much because I've been on deadline trying to get book 2 done, but But I do have a couple recommendations. Let me see, grab off the list. This one was one of my recent, the ring light is making it hard to show. The Falling in Love montage by Kira Smith.
Okay.
She's in Ireland, and Kira, the author, and her book is a rom-com of two, it's a female rom-com, and it's delightful. It's so funny, but also has depth to it. And I love this book so much. And it's one of my favorite contemporary YAs. And then also this one, and the sequel is about to come out, Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. And it has, I was going to say it has Gumiho. And I'm always here for the mischievous girl monsters, mischievous girl folklore creatures of all kinds. So yes, those would be two of my current recommendations.
Okay, I'm glad that you told me about those, because I think I knew about the Wicked Fox, but I did not know about the other one. So I'm glad that you told me. Now I can definitely, I'd want to read that. So apart from fantasy, I know that you totally love fantasy, but if you had to try your hand at any other genre, which one would it be and why?
That's a really good question, because even my editor thinks that if I tried to write like contemporary, it wouldn't work. Like magic would just sneak in. So I honestly don't know. I guess I could try like maybe paranormal romance, because then I could still have magic. But yeah, whatever I write, it's just always gonna have magic. It just is.
Yeah, I get that. I understand that, and I relate to that a lot, because I'm primarily a fantasy writer as well. So it's wonderful to actually meet people. I never really thought that I would get to meet you. First, when I heard about Star Daughter, I never knew that I would have the chance to do this. So I'm actually very excited. Yeah, I'm trying to hide my nervousness right now. I don't know how much of it is showing, but
you don't have to be nervous. I'm just a person, and I'm excited to see what you do.
I know. I've heard like a lot of my friends, I told them that, oh my God, I'm freaking out. I'm going to talk to Shveta Thakrar tomorrow. I'm so freaking out. They were like, she's pretty chill. You don't really have anything to worry about. I'm like, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
as well.
I am pretty chill. Oh.
I saw the video of you unboxing the Star Daughter copies, and you were so adorable in that video. Yeah, you were so happy. You were so happy, and the cover looks great.
Yeah, it's my dream come true. I am so lucky, because my editor asked me from the beginning for my thoughts, and I asked to have Sheetal on the cover, because I said we don't have enough. Like, I think there could be a really beautiful text treatment. I could imagine that, but I'd really like to have her on the cover instead, because we don't have enough good representation yet, especially of magical brown girls. And she was completely on board, and I was able to give all my feedback, like all along. Like, I helped the artists figure out how to make Sheetal look more desi. I suggested all her jewelry, her bindi, the moonlight lotus, everything, and they took all my feedback, and we got this. And then Karina Luck did that gorgeous design and made that font just. I'm so lucky, and it, like, in my opinion, the cover reflects what's inside, which is amazing.
It does. It's so beautiful. And like, the first thing, as I was reading my this book, my arc, I actually showed it to my sister, and I said that, you know what, I'm gonna get the physical copy of this book, because it's so pretty and it's so good. And my sister is 14 years old, and I really think that kids need to read books with desi representation, because growing up I did not have that. So I'm really pushing my sister. She doesn't like to read, so I'm like, you gotta read this book. You gotta read a couple of books that I'm telling you about, because these are good.
Oh,
yeah. I'm actually running out of questions, but okay. Tell me a bit about like your relationship to India. Have you like been to India, and like how many times?
Yes. It's funny, because I'm 41 now. When I was growing up, kids from the States, they would go every summer. They would go and stay with their relatives in India, wherever they were in India. And my family didn't do that for some reason. And so I have actually only been there 3 times in my life. And the last time was, oh my God, it was when I was in grad school. So I was still in my 20s. And I know it's changed a lot. Like, it was really interesting for me watching from the outside how westernized it became once trade was allowed. And so that's been kind of fascinating to watch, because people here often still have a very romanticized idea of what India was like, and think it's still that way. And so I've been trying to keep that in mind, but also remembering that I'm writing as a what we call or used to call an ABCD, right? American Born Confused Desi. So I was basing it on my experience, not saying that this is what India is like, because it's not. I can't write that. I wouldn't try. I would leave it up to you to do a good job with that, and because you know that I don't. But I definitely need to go back, and I hope that I get a chance to once COVID is done.
I really hope you do too, and I hope that when you do, we can actually have a chance to meet. So
Oh.
that would be amazing.
Where are you?
Yeah.
My family's in Mumbai.
I'm in Calcutta right now. So yeah, but usually I'm not in Calcutta. This is not where I go to college, but because of COVID, I'm stuck at home and I'm doing YouTube. So it's a lot of fun. What about like the Indian experience? How was it like for you? Like, I know that you know a lot about Bollywood and a lot about like Hindi music.
Oh,
and like,
I actually don't think I know that much about it. I know more about the music, and that's it's funny because I saw someone ask on Twitter if they would, like a Desi asking, would I be able to enjoy this book if I don't know all these songs or these singers? And I thought, well, I'm kind of showing my age a little bit because I grew up listening to that stuff with my parents. So for me, I don't speak Hindi. I speak Gujarati badly, but I only know like a smattering of Hindi, so I don't actually know what the songs are saying unless I look up translations. But that doesn't seem to matter. I can still feel like the emotion of it, and like the reason I gave Dave a voice like Kishore Kumar is because wow, that man had one amazing heartthrob voice, right? Like so. And I figured even if people don't know who that is, it doesn't really matter. Like the people who do will get it, and the people who don't, they can either look it up or they can just read the book anyway. But for me, it's weird because like the research, I grew up reading Amar Chitra Katha, right? Like that's how I learned a lot of our stories, but there's still so much I don't know. And of course there's that idea too, that depending on where you are, the story is going to be different, right? Like the take on it is going to be different. So it's weird because since I'm writing in a market that's mostly not Desi, at least for so far, I hope nobody's taking what I wrote as any kind of gospel or textbook and saying, oh, look, I learned so much from this, because no, I changed things. I made things up. I adapted things. Like, yes, I put in stories like mentioning like Gajendra and the crocodile, but go look it up and read it for yourself. And so that's been interesting because, yeah, I feel like there's this idea in the States anyway, that there's one way to be Indian. And I don't know, I'm kind of weird for a lot of Desis. Like I dress like this. I believe in magic. And they're like, I study German, and they're like, we don't know what to do with you, but I'm still Desi, so.
absolutely. And it's always great to have like more kinds of people and celebrate all kinds of people within like a community. So I'm really glad that you gave me a chance to get to know you, because as I said, I was like super excited for this, and I still can't believe I actually spent like 30 minutes without freaking out with you. So
you did a great job, but I have to laugh because I'm just thinking, but I'm just like me,
Yeah, but like you've written something so beautiful, and like definitely something that I'd want to read again and again. That's why I want to get a physical book of that. Yeah,
that's the best compliment. That is the best compliment. I mean, we have so many, especially in YA right now, there's so many books coming out all the time, that for anybody to want to reread something, that's a huge compliment. Thank you.
You deserve it. The book deserves it, and it deserves to be read by a lot of people, especially my little sister. I'm going to make sure that she reads it. So thank you so much for coming here, Shveta, and talking to me, and like being so nice and wonderful, and writing so well, and just being amazing overall.
Oh, thank you. Well, here, Shveta and I are giving you a big hug.
Yay. Thank you. Okay. Hopefully we will meet someday.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Shveta.
Absolutely.
All right.